Let not your heart be troubled. You are listening to the Sean Hannity Radio Show podcast. So like many of you, I have trouble sleeping. I have insomnia. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't work until I met Mike Lindell, and I got my very own MyPillow. It has changed my life. What makes MyPillow so different is MyPillow's patented adjustable fill. In other words, you can adjust the patented fill to your exact individual needs so you get the support you need and want to help you get to sleep faster and stay asleep longer. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-919-6090. Remember, use the promo code Hannity. When you do, Mike Lindell will give you his best offer ever. Buy one pillow and get another one absolutely free. MyPillow, made in the USA, 10-year unconditional warranty, and it has a 60-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose. So it's time for you to start getting the quality of sleep that you've been wanting and we need. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 800-919-6090, promo code Hannity. Take advantage of Mike's special 2-for-1 offer. MyPillow.com, promo code Hannity. All right, big day in the state of Alabama today. We'll check in with the pollsters and others and see what's going on the ground in that state. According to the Real Clear Politics average, it's a 2-point race. I have some anecdotal evidence to pass on to you. It appears that it's probably, a very high turnout day altogether. If I ever get, I'm not going to sit here and, make my prediction or whatever. It's up to people in the state of Alabama whether they're going to go out and vote or not. But it seems like there is enthusiasm on both sides at this early part of the day, 2 o'clock Alabama time. And as we get new information, we'll bring that to you through the course of the program today. We have more examples of just abusive media bias. It really should take people's breath away. But I guess for most people, it just doesn't. They don't care. And Jay Sekulow, who is the chief counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice, and I talked to him earlier today. I said, well, come on the program today. He'll join us in about an hour. And, here he is, a guy that deals in truth, et cetera, all the time. And after all we have told you about ABC and the New York Times and the Washington Post and fake news CNN, they can't help themselves. He actually sent me a text message in terms of exactly what it is that he said to NBC at about 5-something this morning. NBC calling him and asking, hey, Jay, can you send us the quote that you gave to Axios? What's that, Allen, John? What's his name? Allen, Mike Allen is his name. Yeah. No, he's with the Axios now, I think. Anyway, about needing, a special counsel to investigate Mueller. Jay actually writes, well, it was not about a special counsel investigating Mueller. It was regarding a special counsel to investigate the conflicts with the DOJ, the FBI, regarding Fusion GPS, and the DOJ official, Bruce Orr, who was demoted while he was in contact with Fusion GPS. And, of course, now we know that his wife worked for Fusion GPS. I mean, the numbers of conflicts that we're talking about on all of these issues should take your breath away if you believe in equal justice under the law. Anyway, so this individual from NBC News that is asking him, can you send the statement? And by the way, the statement had nothing to do with calling for a special counsel, nothing, no mention of Mueller. As a matter of fact, Jay said, sure, but please understand, he writes this, none of this is aimed at Mueller. He puts those words in there. And the Department of Justice, the statement is, and the FBI cannot ignore the multiple problems that have been created by these obvious conflicts of interest. Yeah, like the wife of the guy that's in the FBI 4 doors down from Bruce Orr, 4 doors down from Rod Rosenstein, that was demoted, and his wife, he's meeting with Fusion GPS. Do you see how corrupt this all is? And his wife works for Fusion GPS. Then you got Bruce Struck and his girlfriend, both working for Mueller. That's a separate case. That's not what Jay was talking about. And in that case, here you have a guy that's trashing Trump while investigating Trump and praising Hillary, as she was. And then you find out that that's the same guy that worked with James Comey to create an exoneration before an investigation. And the same guy that was wording the exoneration before the investigation, taking out the legal terminology, which would have made Hillary Clinton guilty of a crime. When they said gross negligence, that's the legal standard, And, of course, nothing happens in that case. And we all sit back, and it's a year later, and we hear Trump-Russia collusion, Trump-Russian collusion. Well, on the GPS Hillary bought and paid for Russian propaganda, salacious dossier that was designed to impact the election and you, the American people, with phony Russian information. You would think that ought to be investigated, especially now when the special counsel has gone so afar from what their original mandate was. Anyway, then Jay Sekulow said again, your reporter is saying that I want a special counsel to investigate Mueller. I told you that was not the case at all. Will you get him to correct his tweet? Now, in this case, he's talking about some guy. What's his name? Ari Melber. I don't even know who these people are. I think he's an NBC guy, MSNBC, conspiracy TV guy. OK. And then this is what Melber, right? Sekulow cites a Fox News report about alleged conflicts on the special counsel team to say DOJ, FBI cannot ignore the multiple problems that have been created by these obvious conflicts of interest. And then he says revelations require the appointment of a special counsel to investigate. Just spoke to Jay Sekulow, who says this is about an alleged conflict regarding Fusion GPS and Bruce Orr. It has nothing to do with Bob Mueller or Mueller's team. He stresses that that was and remains his original point. Well, the only problem is they ran an article that put up there the exact opposite of what Jay said at, 5:57 or 5:45 this morning. And this is the world that we live in. And this is, there's an alter reality that we all face now. And it's not rooted in specific truth. And the standards, you cannot get libel laws do not allow people to sue to get their good name back, no matter what it is people say about public figures. Oh, how do you possibly prove that there's malice and thought in somebody's heart? I have an exclusive report today, a letter that is being sent out, that this is just breaking here on this program, that is being sent to Michael Conway, Chairman, House of Representatives, Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. I want to read you how bad it is and has been for anybody involved in these investigations. And all these people being dragged through for a year, the mud leading to the appointment of the special counsel. Why the special counsel? Because, oh, that's right, James Comey purposefully leaked information he had no business leaking through a Columbia professor so that he can get a special counsel appointed. Who's the special counsel? His BFF, appointed by Rod Rosenstein, Robert Mueller. And then you look at the history of Bruce Strzok and Orr and Mueller and Rosenstein, Peter Strzok rather, and Bruce Orr and Comey and Mueller and Rosenstein. It's like these guys have been best chums their entire lives. And then you look at Mueller's team and Mueller's team of people. Let's see. You got big donors to the Democratic Party, to Barack Obama, to Hillary Clinton, but you don't have donors, any of them, to a Republican candidate. And then you say, OK, well, let's look at their background. Well, in the case of Bruce Strzok is involved in everything. Peter Strzok's involved in everything. And Peter Strzok is the one that sits there and interviews not only General Flynn, but then it's Hillary Clinton, Cheryl Mills, Uma Abedin. He's there for the dossier issue. He's there for the email issue. You would think there's nobody else that works at the FBI because they keep appointing the same guy, and he's the guy that has a anti-Trump, pro-Hillary bias. And then it shows up of all those people that they interview, even though we know Cheryl Mills, we know Uma Abedin, and we know Hillary Clinton all lied to the FBI. None of them got what General Flynn got. This doesn't sound like equal justice under the law. This doesn't sound like a fair and unbiased investigation. Anyway, back to this letter by Alan. No, not Mike Allen. It's an attorney. Anyway, it's Donald Trump Jr.'s attorney, and they have to send out a letter today. Why? Because, after all the hours that all the people and family members and anyone associated with Trump has had to go into these, hearings and meetings, every time they're in there, within seconds, everything is leaked to the public. And that's not supposed to happen either. And he says, Dear Chairman, on behalf of Donald Trump Jr., I'm writing respectfully to request that the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence open a formal inquiry into leaks occurring during and after Donald Trump Jr.'s December 6, 2017 interview, including whether staff members of this committee intentionally disseminated inaccurate information to the news media. Well, that happens every day when it comes to leaks from Congress and so-called private meetings and committee hearings and so on and so forth. Said on December 6, Donald Trump Jr. voluntarily appeared before this committee for a non-public confidential interview as part of the committee's ongoing investigation into alleged interference in the 2016 presidential election. The interview, which was conducted under oath specifically requested by this committee, took place over 8 hours, commencing at approximately 10 a.m., concluding approximately 5:50 p.m. Mr. Trump Jr. was at all times cooperative, forthcoming, and transparent. In advance of the interview, Mr. Trump Jr. and his counsel were assured by this committee that in accordance with the rules of procedure, the interview would be kept strictly confidential and not discussed publicly unless and until the full committee voted to release the transcript. Now, consistent with these assurances, our access to the Capitol was controlled. The interview was held in a secure area. Our electronic devices were housed separately until the interview was concluded. Notwithstanding these precautions, at approximately 1:01 p.m., while the interview was still in progress, members of the committee and or their staff began selectively leaking information provided during the interview to various press outlets, most notably fake news CNN. I added the fake. Tweets from, CNN reporters at 1:01 p.m., 4:29 p.m., and tweets again and again, and they cite all the different tweets. After the interview, the public release of confidential, non-public information by committee members continued unabated. For example, the same evening and the following day, several members of the minority, including, Representative Schiff and Spire and some others, appeared on news to discuss certain details of the interview. In an attempt to discredit my client, they did not accurately portray the breadth, the scope, the substance of the interview. And then he files all the different articles. The release of non-public information was sufficiently brazen that on December 7th, 2017, I received an email from a majority staff member releasing us from our confidentiality obligation since others clearly violated that condition before the interview even concluded. These people, it's just there's such lowlifes. Their word means nothing to these members of Congress. And upon information and belief, on or before Friday, December 8th, certain members of the committee and their staff began disseminating wildly inaccurate information concerning a September 14th, 2016 email sent to my client from an apparent campaign supporter named Michael Erickson. That email with my client and the Trump Organization had voluntarily produced to this committee prior to the interview purported to provide both a link and decryption key to access certain hacked DNC emails that had been supposedly obtained and released by WikiLeaks, and a copy of the email possessed by the questioner who showed it to Mr. Trump Jr. during the interview. The email clearly shows the date is September 14th. That's where fake news CNN comes in. They said it was September 4th, that they were getting an early release of WikiLeaks. Well, that wasn't true either. I mean, fake news is of ABC fake news, New York Times fake news, NBC, CBS, Washington Post, CNN, conspiracy theory TV. It's all over the place. It's so inherently dishonest and corrupt. The whole sewer and swamp is bigger than anybody ever thought. Anyway, we have that letter exclusively. Nobody else has it, what we just told you. All right, only 2 words you need to remember while making your list and checking it twice this holiday season. Tommy John. They are the revolutionary men's underwear, T-shirt, sock brand, and they have redefined comfort for men everywhere, including and especially me. All Tommy John underwear is crafted from the most comfortable fabric you'll ever use. It's impossible to be uncomfortable in Tommy John. Plus, their innovation never takes a day off at Tommy John, even during the holidays. They're constantly thinking of new ways to give you the best product you've ever tried. Like their patented undershirts I wear every day. Well, they stay tucked in and literally pull perspiration right off your body. And also, Tommy John, their underwear is backed by the best pair you'll ever wear, guarantee, or it's free from TommyJohn.com. So give the gift of life-changing comfort for the holidays. TommyJohn.com/Hannity. You get 20% off your first order. That's TommyJohn.com/Hannity. Plus, you get extra savings with exclusive holiday daily deals. Only at TommyJohn.com/Hannity. All right, we've got a back and forth with New York Senator Gillibrand and on Donald Trump that has been going on today, and it's getting way out of control. We're also learning that CNN had to be dragged kicking and screaming to correct their fake report on Jeff Sessions, and CNN and the rest of the Democratic media were insisting that hundreds of fake news stories that they reported about President Trump since day one since he was inaugurated, were honest mistakes. Hundreds of them, hundreds of examples. Anyway, when even they're caught red-handed making one of their so-called honest mistakes, literally they have to be dragged kicking and screaming to correct the record. And they basically always try and characterize this as, well, we're now updating our story to now get it right because we screwed it up the first time. New York Post points out that on Monday, when CNN walked back this expose on the Attorney General Jeff Sessions that turns out to have exposed nothing except maybe the network's own abusive bias, the original report in May blared that Sessions hadn't listed those two meetings with Russia's ambassador on his FBI disclosure forms prior to the Senate confirmation hearings. Well, now CNN finally had to admit that the FBI told Sessions not to list any of his half a dozen meetings with other countries and diplomats as part of his senatorial duties. Now, what forced CNN to clarify? Well, there is something called the Freedom of Information Act, and literally they were able to produce an FBI email from March that proved that Sessions was right the entire time. So the misleading report in May, which became part of a narrative throughout the entire media that Jeff Sessions lied about Russian contacts, showing up in the Atlantic and ABC News and BuzzFeed and HuffPo and all these others, all confirming Sessions was supposedly being dishonest and a lack of candor in his verbal testimony. So, CNN got the story wrong, but didn't correct the record until a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit backed them into a corner. How many times can these people be proven wrong in a week? All right, we got the attorney for the president, Jay Sekulow. He's checking in today. Also, we'll check in with Sean Spicer on this fake news epidemic we have. We'll hit the ground in Alabama. What's going on the ground there? We have pollster John Wall is on the ground. Amy Kramer's on the ground there. Jonathan Gillum, he wants you to be more aware so you're not a victim of violence. We'll explain that and more.
You can't always get what you want, but you can get Sean Hannity online at Hannity.com.
He broke the story along with CNN's Evan Perez. All right, Manu, what are you learning?
Well, Wolf, tonight, Justice Department officials are telling CNN that Attorney General Jeff Sessions did not disclose meetings he had last year with Russian officials when he applied for a security clearance. Now, this new information from the Justice Department is just the latest example of Sessions not listing contacts he had with Russian officials earlier this year. Now, earlier this year, he came under withering criticism from Democrats after it was revealed that he did not disclose the same contacts with the Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak during his Senate confirmation hearings. Now, Sessions met with Kislyak at least 2 times last year, including at the Republican National Convention. And he did not note those interactions on this forum, which actually, Wolf, requires him to list, quote, any contact he had with or his family had with a, quote, foreign government or its representatives over the past 7 years. Now, Sessions' initial failure to disclose these same meetings led him to actually recuse himself from all matters related to the Russia investigation, though he has said he does not recall discussing campaign matters, Wolf, with meetings with Kislyak.
A newly released document backs the explanation for why Attorney General Jeff Sessions did not disclose meetings with the Russian ambassador on his security clearance forms. The email shows the FBI told a Sessions aide that Sessions was not required to disclose foreign contacts that happened during the course of his duties as a senator. The newly released email supports the Justice Department's original explanation given last May when CNN first reported the omission of foreign contacts on Sessions' security clearance form.
This is CNN.
How much more fake news can you have? 24 now till the top of the hour, 800-941-SEAN. I just keep bringing up all of these examples, and it really has now become an epidemic. And the epidemic is you're not hearing the truth on a regular basis. And there is, look, there's only so many times I can say that journalism in America is dead, but it's dead. I love the exchange with Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Jim Acosta of CNN. They are so hostile. They're not interested in the truth. They're interested in getting their big moment in the sun. They're interested in getting their cut that they can run that night on their newscast. Listen in.
And I would just say, Sarah, that journalists make honest mistakes, and that doesn't make them fake news. But
The question that
But when journalists make honest mistakes, they should own up to them. Sometimes, and a lot of times you don't. But there's a difference. There's a very big. I'm sorry, I'm not finished. There's a very big difference between making honest mistakes and purposefully misleading the American people. Something that happens regularly. You can't say I'm not done. You cannot say
that was completely fake, Sarah.
You cannot say that it's an honest mistake when you're purposely putting out information that you know to be false, or when you're taking information that hasn't been validated, that hasn't been offered any credibility, and that has been continually denied by a number of people, including people with direct knowledge of an instance. This is something that I'm speaking about the number of reports that have taken place over the last couple of weeks. I'm simply stating that there should be a certain level of responsibility in that process.
This was not,
Ryan, I called on Jim.
This is not the line of questioning that I was going down, but can you cite a specific story that you say is intentionally false, that was intentionally put out there to mislead the American people?
Sure. The ABC report by Brian Ross, I think that was pretty misleading to the American people, and I think that it's very telling that that individual had to be suspended because of that reporting. I think that shows that the network took it seriously and recognized that it was a problem.
I mean, and then the fake news media is so, I mean, they're so upset that Donald Trump called Don Lemon the dumbest man on television. Don Lemon hosts a cable news show. Don Lemon is an adult. If he can't handle something as silly as that without being all offended, and the network releasing a statement slamming the president who engaged in the very same behavior as bullies who torment children. I'm like, he's a reporter. I mean, if I ever took offense on any given day, for any of you that are out on social media, all you got to do is look at my name. You would think I am Satan Jr. or worse when you read comments about me. And you know what? I don't give it a second thought. You know, Joe Scarborough, it puts us all in jeopardy. Anybody in the public eye. All right, stop. I can't take it. I can't take it. But anybody in the public eye gets death threats. And I'm not minimizing them. They're not good. I don't, you have to take them seriously. I have advised many people over the years how I deal with it when it happens to them for the first time. It's not fun, but it happens. And it happens to people on the left and people on the right. It's happened to me numerous times. It's probably not the last time. You know, MSNBC, Donald Trump doesn't like CNN's Don Lemon because he's black. That's actually what they're saying is on Liberal Joe. Their chief White House correspondent, Peter Baker, welcomed in a panel discussion with his colleagues in the latest report about President Trump and his news-watching habits. Now, forget the fact that President Trump denied what the New York Times said about his 12 Diet Cokes and his 4 to 8 hours watching TV. It's impossible for the president to be spending that much time watching television, but that doesn't stop them from questioning whatever the New York Times puts out there. But anyway, Heilemann tries to, fails to get Baker to pin Trump's dislike on Trump on the president's hatred of African-American people. This is where the liberal media goes. It was a pretty despicable moment. I think a Playboy journalist was demanding to know if I don't know if Sanders had ever been assaulted. I mean, that is outrageous that they're asking her that. 40 minutes after the New York City terror attack, 40 minutes, CNN was obsessing over Donald Trump's 12 Diet Coke habit that he has every day. Well, I don't know if the president drinks Diet Coke. And I guess if he has, he probably asked for 2 Diet Cokes and only offers his guests 1 Diet Coke.
The New York Times out with a report this weekend.
Forget it. This is how silly and superfluous and dumb. CNN, Donald Trump setting a bad examples for children, bullying Don Lemon. I've met Don Lemon. Nice guy, nice enough guy. He does his own show. I think he can probably handle, that the president doesn't like his TV show and his liberal views. CNN has to walk back the Jeff Sessions Russia bombshell that they've been perpetrated since May. This stuff never ends. Just like the Trump-Russia collusion. And it's also what they don't report that matters. Let's play the Playboy journalist.
That question a little bit. As a woman standing out there talking to us, I know your job is to relate what the president says. Have you ever been sexually harassed, and do you understand? And I'm not saying by the president, I'm saying ever. And secondly, do you have an empathy for those who come forward? Because it's very difficult for women to come forward.
Absolutely, would say that I have an empathy for any individual who has been sexually harassed, and that certainly would be the policy of the White House. I'm not here to speak about my personal experience on that front, but I'm here to relay information on behalf of the president, and that's what I'm focused on doing here today.
Now the media today is fixated that Donald Trump, and I said this was going to happen. I said, look, up to and including last year, it didn't matter that Bill Clinton was the biggest predator, proven predator against women, and every Democrat for 30 years defended the Clintons, including the allegations. It took Monica Lewinsky. Well, then they found out that what they did to Jennifer Flowers, well, they called her a liar and every other name in the book, and their hit squad was sent out there to destroy, smear, slander these women, starting with Jennifer Flowers when she said, I got tapes. Here are the tapes. And she gave it to the National Enquirer. And there was Bill Clinton's voice. It was unmistakable. Anyway, on top of that, with Bill Clinton, then you've got all the other things that came up. And what did we find out? That a lot of the women were telling the truth. But then for 30 years, up to and including all through last year, there was no talk about the tactics of the Clintons and their treatment of Paula Jones and Jennifer Flowers and Kathleen Willey and Juanita Broderick. But now all of a sudden, because Al Franken had pictures of him groping women, that's evidence. That's what we call that. That's called evidence that he actually did it. And John Conyers was forced to resign. Now, what did I tell you? I told you last week, this is all by design, because then they want to turn this into a narrative against Donald Trump and relitigate the entire election of Donald Trump and every accusation of every woman that they made against Donald Trump. Now, we spent a lot of time during the campaign when the New York Times came out with a front page, top fold story about all these. We invited the women on. And many of them, one after another, said, no, the New York Times has it wrong. And I'm sure that listen, I am hearing rumors. Let me just give you a preview of coming attractions, all right?